If I have my way, I will be here all the time. As the years progress, more and more flowers were grown. People changed to maybe two things that they want to grow, tomatoes and basil. I'm not so much disappointed in that. I have to accept that as being logical for these people. They have deeper pockets than the original group. I'm always pleasantly surprised by bees tucked into a rose at the end of the season because they're exhausted, the bumblebees. I was gardening in this shade plot earlier in the season, and I kicked a brick that is a border, and a little bumblebee was going down into her nest in the ground. So then you can go down a rabbit hole. You can start looking up bumblebees. You can start looking up, different interesting things. But that's, I guess, because I was a teacher. That's who I am.
Watering, weeding,
okay.
Resting in the shade. If I'm not done, I do the same thing again. I've been here for about probably over 30 years.
Okay.
And in '08, when I had my stroke, the garden was very good to me because they contacted me and they said, we're holding on to your plot for as long as it needs to be held on to. And if you're ready to come back at some point, you come back. And if you're ready to let go of it at some point. So they gave me a year and a half to get ready. There are two places in Philly that are like my little refuge. They're my Prozac, this and the Italian market. And I've known, I deal with the same dealers like for decades. So, some of them have retired, some of them have died, but, I still know some of the old timers.
Little kitty.
They're always in here trying to get rodents. What color? A black and white one?
No, it's a gray cat.
Is he in his own space or is he in here?
He looks like he's in his own space.
Hi, baby.
I love cats. I had a cat, but my last cat died at 4. I'm just gonna stick with plants. Sometimes I steal people's flowers. Don't tell anybody.
I won't tell
anybody.
Is this
gonna be told? The whole garden's gonna know? Because
highly doubt.
If that's true, I will have to have you killed. I'm just grateful to have this in a heavy, busy, crazy city. I have a T-shirt. I always think I'm going to wear it to the meeting. Quote by Jean-Paul Sartre. It says, "Hell is other people."
Oh.
Awesome. Oh my God, you're going to out me.
Started about 15 years ago. We had been on the wait list for about 5-6 years, and initially I wasn't really involved. My wife had wanted it, she got on the list, and I was just kind of came in like, I'll lay brick paths or I'll dig some stuff, but just grow me some stuff to eat. That's it. And then I kind of got more and more involved, and now I would say I'm equally involved in the plot with her, probably too much so. A little overbearing. You do with the garden, okay? Follow the exact same rules in both places. Talk to the exec first, and then we'll let everybody know. But that has been set for late September. We're gonna need planners again, so we'll send an email out asking for that. But if it's you need hours, it's another opportunity for those who get involved in the planning of it to earn some additional hours. So think about whether you might want to do that. There is no aspirational recycling here. You got to do what the rules say. And if that means throwing something out we don't feel like should be thrown out, we still have to do that. Right. Okay. That's all. I got a couple things at the end to close. I'm going to start handing it over for some others. First up is Karen. Wants to talk a little bit about the maintenance committee. And then, as being a member of the garden, we have requirements for meetings and we have cleanups. And I kind of always made sure I did those, but not really much more until the presidency was up, or the chair position was up last year. And having finished some kind of other commitments, my second job, I thought I had some time free, so kind of would be my turn in the rotation to take it up.
We would garden, and the woman next to me, Cheryl Rybacke, had the plot next door, and we would be here at night when the bats came out. When Libby envisioned it, this neighborhood was really not a white neighborhood.
Libby, who's been dead for many years, he founded the garden. She was a piece of work. We got along, and this mural by Isaiah Zagar in honor of her. And she pretended she was really pissed off about it. Pretended she was pissed off that her name was on it, but she actually liked it. Still pretentious.
This was a derelict place, and she and a group of people from the neighborhood, especially this gentleman, Mr. Brightman, who was sort of the mayor of of this area, and was African American. And they worked very hard to get this established. So that was around 1976. She, being a very liberal person, felt that the garden was no longer the same. And of course it couldn't be. The demographics keep changing in the neighborhood, and people's interest in what they want to grow had changed as well. So Libby left because she was disappointed. But she was also getting older. I made this garden. Now it's somebody else's turn to pick up the baton. As a community, are we as tight as well, maybe it's my misconception that we were tighter. I don't know. I begin to wonder sometimes if it's my misconception, if we ever were tighter as a group. My husband, being a cabinet maker and a carpenter, we used to have a wooden fence, and it was depleted in certain areas. Kids kicked it in or it broke, and he and a group of others from the garden would just fix it. Same for the arbor that we're sitting in, was basically built by gardeners. The gazebo was built by gardeners. But nowadays, to get something built, it gets passed on.
I just wanted to see if there was any dissenters against an idea like that, if people had anything against it. I could ask for a show of hands, but you'd probably all raise your hands out of politeness. So if there's anybody who would have a problem with that, just let me know. You can contact me, or I don't see why there would be one, but feel free to voice it. I'm always here to listen.
When we joined in 1978, perhaps, we were the minority group in the garden, and it was all these wonderful African Americans, and many of them whom had moved up here as young people from the South, so they had the tradition of growing. When you get the plot press, the last one we just sent out, I thought, what am I going to write about? And I decided to write about a gentleman who was in our garden that grew peanuts. I would say most of us do not grow peanuts. It's a very southern thing to grow your own peanuts. Some people are very uncomfortable going to the main library or into any library because they've never been exposed to it. The same as if I was on Rodeo Drive in California, I probably would not go into half of those high-end shops because I would not feel comfortable. HS used to have garden, would come with a bus, and all these people would get off the bus and tour our garden, and then they go visit another one. They don't do that anymore that I'm aware of. Stay and say, let's meet here in the grape arbor. I'll pick up the roast chicken, you bring the fruit salad, somebody else gets some beer, and we'd be here till 10 o'clock at night. Now I know for a fact that some people still come in, and we'll have have a bottle of wine or something. That some of the older gardeners who are in my age range feel that the younger gardeners are not invested the same way. And we wonder, as a group, how will this garden thrive or not thrive or succeed or continue on?
It's a lot. Everybody here seems to know what they're doing, and if they don't, they're useless and they're not worthy of my attention. If I'm away, there are people who water for me, and I've got somebody who I water for now, and then my neighbors at the end of the aisle are going to Turkey on the 13th, so I'm going to be watering them and picking everything out of their plot. Their plot's going to be denuded when they get home.
I mean, when we were at 2nd and Catherine, one lady said, well, those people aren't from the neighborhood because they're from Front Street.
A lot of them moved away and a lot of them died. And the younger generation is not interested in gardening.
And then in the olden times when we first started, people used to work 35, 37 hours a week. So they had plenty of time for canning and freezing and preserving and doing all that stuff. And now, I mean, people are working 60 hours a week and they don't have time to do that.
We're white with money predominantly, and when this garden was founded, it was all local people, almost all African American. They had so much lore, they were not entitled. Now there's upper middle class people with 3 kids and they come and do nothing.
There are people in this garden that I know for a fact don't have a lot of pennies to rub together. And, some people you would not necessarily, quote, identify.
We operate through and with NGT. Everything's kind of coordinated with them. It doesn't, I wouldn't say it's not much of in the daily operation of the garden, it's much more mundane things we have to worry about. Who has keys, who's met into meetings, the website redesign, how's that going? What date is the barbecue? That's kind of more pressing. I can't, within the few months that I've taken presidency, it's been very good and close, but I can't say what it was before that. I don't know that I was very aware of it. There was, when I first came in, there was a group of longtime gardeners that had been here, most of them I think since the beginning, and they really kind of ran things into control, and I just kind of took a back seat. I turned compost, I came to meetings, I just did that and let them handle things, but as they have sort of left, aged out, some passed away, and now become more aware of these things.
Why you? Why do you think they chose you?
I think I hit the point where I've been around long enough to kind of remember the way things were done before, and so it can help provide some continuity. Contact Eileen, she can let you know and kind of confirm your attendance, hours, and all of that. Otherwise, just be mindful that we are actually at that halfway point in the season, so you want to make sure you're getting up there in the number of meetings you attend, as well as your cleanup hours. There are financial costs to running it. Some energy costs. We've got solar panels for that.
Right.
We're dealing with a big issue with the water department right now, where we may need to install something called, that I just learned about, called a backflow preventer out at the main valve by Christian Street. That could be tens of thousands of dollars. So there are financial costs. There's some time costs for the members to do commitments and meetings, some time costs for officers who get involved and want to organize and run things. There's definite benefits as well. There's, obviously, whatever you might save economically on food, but I think that's pretty minimal. Most importantly, there's definitely some community here, some good healthy socialization.
Well, a lot of people don't want to step forward because it's a headache, because once you are stepping forward, you have 60 people coming at you. And that's the conversations that I no longer have privy to. And sometimes they're very silly demands. And if you were paying attention to the newsletter or paying attention at a meeting, those questions were already answered.
The PHS and their ability to workshop and educate people on how to garden and like develop more of these gardens in other places. How much agency do people have in this space to do that work?
I remember more activities happening here earlier in the PHS, but at the same time, I think it's because this garden is now considered what is called a keystone garden, meaning we are old enough, we are successful, our bylaws are very, if not overwritten, are well taken care of.
I try to do what I can. I can't do heavy work, but I'm always on time to do my cleanups with Lisa. She helps me out with that. I wake up, I can't be here at 9 in the morning on a Saturday. It's like, that's not going to happen. There are rules. Nobody applies them. Like this plot here.
Mm-hmm.
This guy does nothing, and he doesn't weed his plot. He's a piece of shit. The one next to me,
Piece of shit.
Look at the plot next to me, and you should take a picture. And nobody's calling them on their stuff. They need to be told that they're leaving. I mean, they really do, because it's a waste of time and space for people who are waiting for years for a plot that they will care for and love.
The wait list. The wait list is an odd animal. I have asked or suggested many times that they change the premise of it.
I don't know how she got me into the garden, because apparently now you're waiting like 6 years. She said, "Do you want to join the garden?" I said, "Sure." 2 months later, she said, "You got a plot." I don't know what she did, but she got me in there like ASAP.
People can be on a wait list for 8 years, which is silly in a lot of respects. God bless them that they wait that long and tenacity to stay on it. But there's the flip side. 8 years go by and half the people on the wait list have moved on to a different part of town. I always thought as the wait list diminishes, you can then offer so many to the wait list people, but then say, apply in the fall. Your names are thrown into a lottery, and these names are pulled out. You have so many days or weeks to respond, and we will greet you and offer you a spot. To me, that's more logical. I respect that so many people would be upset if they're on a wait list and all of a sudden it didn't exist anymore.
Of course.
But me, I would just say bye-bye.
For people who are interested in starting a garden, what aspect of your bylaws are the most important to keeping a place like this function well?
That's a good question. They don't list suggestions of where to find resources. That's very good. I don't think it's in there. Perhaps it would be best if we, as a garden, would spend more time visiting other gardeners or other gardens and sharing some of our expertise on what makes this good. But then at the same time, by visiting other gardens, we would maybe learn something that's better for us to